It is one of the main building blocks of any programming language. It performs a specific task and gives the ability to reuse a piece of code multiple times. And with that comes a lot of flexibility. Hi, my name is Cornelius, and in this video, we will learn about functions in JavaScript. We'll learn how to create them, how to use them efficiently. Okay. Functions are blocks of code inside our main body of code. And that is why we can simply write functionality inside them. And we won't have to repeat the writing of that functionality every single time. Okay. So in other words, in JavaScript, just like other programming languages, we have predefined functions available for us in the language. So things like log, alert, set timeout. As a matter of fact, anything that has parentheses in front of it, okay, anything before we use, we have to do like this in front of it is a function. So please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Let's see our first function. Let's just cancel out these comments and do something like this. Function, I'll say message. And inside the body of the function, we go and say console.log hello. Right. And that's all. We end it. You come out here and say message. Let's save and come down here to run the code and see what happens. We do node functions. And you see we get hello, right? Now you might be thinking, oh, it's just a glorified variable. But well, this is the base level of things that you can do with functions. And we are going to be making it even more interesting right away. So let's modify the function in such a way that we will be able to say hello to someone using the person's name, right? So let's go back to our function here and modify it by adding a parameter. Let's say username. And inside the body of our function, let's also modify it and now make it plus username, right? So when we save and come out here, now to use the function now, we'll have to add the name of anybody we want to say hello to. So let's say we want to say hello to John. And this John is called an argument. Okay, I'll still explain all these terms, but let's run our code first and see. And we get hello John. Let's add a little space to it at the end here. And we get hello John. Okay, so we see that it's a simple function and we can use it to say hello to someone's name. And the task we are using it to perform is simply to say hello to people using their name, right? Now, this code can be reused multiple times, in fact, 1,000,000 times. Now, let's go ahead and invoke it a few more times and say hello to different people. We can do something like hello Paul. Hello Paul, hello Sam. And when we save and run the code, we get hello for all three different names. Okay, so no matter the number of names we use, pass to messages and arguments, we will say hello to every single person we pass it on. So let's now go ahead and explain some of the words I've used that might sound strange to you if you are new to functions in JavaScript or even any programming language at that. Now, parameter, when we say parameter, this is the data inside the parentheses of the function, like the username here is an example of parameter. Okay, it can be one and it can even be multiple parameters. So in a case where you want to use multiple parameters, which we will still see in this video, you separate them using comma. Now, arguments is the value we pass to the function. Okay, argument is basically the value we pass to the function when we want to invoke the function. Like arguments and parameters are basically two sides of the same coin. Okay, so parameters are used when the function is being created. Now, arguments are used when you're trying to invoke the function. So another word we need to explain, invoke. So when we say invoke, it simply means to use a function, right? Now, if invoke sounds too big, you can also use another word called call. You can say to call the function. So we can say let's invoke the function or let's call the function. And what both words simply means is to use the function, right? And lastly, let's talk about the body of the function. So the body of the function is anything and everything inside this curly braces in front of the function. Everything inside it, even if it's a million lines of code, inside this curly brace is the body of the function message. So that's simply what it means. Now let's have more fun. We'll create a variable that adds two numbers and return their sum. So we'll say function add, and we'll add two parameters. I will say num1, num2. So inside the body, we use return. So return is really what you should be using inside variables, right? Because when you use return keyword, it returns what the function is supposed to return and then ends the execution. Okay, but you can also use console.log in certain situations, most especially when debugging. But the normal use inside function, the normal keyword you should use to return values from functions should be the return keyword. So we'll say num1, right, plus num2, and that's it. Let's come out here now and see. To use it, we'll now do console log add, and it's a function, we invoke it. So we invoke a function, you use the parentheses in front of it. So if it's a function that you need to pass argument to, we pass argument to, and if it's a function that does not need arguments, you run it like that. But in our case here, we need to pass two arguments to it, num1 and num2. So what are those numbers? Let's just add 2, 3, right? So save the code. Come down here. What do we get? We get 5. Okay, it has add 2 and 3 together. Now you can also go ahead and use the function multiple times to add different numbers, and it will work perfectly. Okay, we can also add conditional statements to make it even more interesting. So let's say in a situation like this, and we do okay, what should we do? Let's just try something fun. Function check, right? And inside our function check, we can also pass to, let's pass to parameters also, a comma b, and inside it we use the if and else statements. So we'll say if a, what condition should we use? let's just use something silly. Okay, let's say if A not equal to B, right, it should return A multiplied by B. Yeah. Else return A plus B. So let's come out here and run the code. So before we run it, let me explain. So what we do now is that we tell the check function right here, we tell the check function that if the value of A, parameter A, when we run it as an argument, if the value of A is not equal to the value of B, okay, it should multiply their values. It should multiply A by the value of B. But if their values are equal, which is the else statement, it should simply add them together. So now let's go ahead and run the code and see what we get. So we do console.log check, we invoke it, and we say 2,9, right? Let's duplicate it, and we do 7, 7, 7. Okay, so the first one, we make sure their values are not equal, and then the second one, we make sure the values are equal. So what are we going to expect to see? Since it says if A is not equal to B, and we know 2 is not equal to 9, we are going to get 18 because it will multiply 2 9 times. Now, if the values are equal, in this case 7 is equal to 7, it will simply add them, and we'll expect to see 14. Now let's go ahead and run the code, and we get 18 and 14 as expected. So this also shows and demonstrates that functions can be nested inside functions, okay? Because the if statement here is a function, right? And the function is inside our own function, the check function. Okay? So it's something that we can even create our own function inside another function that we've defined. So when you have function inside another function, it is called nesting. Now, a function can also return another function. Okay, so let's go back and I'll say we'll reuse. Okay, let's reuse this add function. Okay, let's reuse this add function and modify it. Let's modify it. Up here, out, remove num2. Let's say num1, num2. So function inside, there's the function inside function inside, and inside the function we add another parameter. Okay, and the parameter is what we'll use together. So inside the num2 we add the operation we want to perform. So we'll say return num1 plus num2, num1 plus num2. Then you come inside here and we say return inside and we pass 3 to it. Return inside, then we'll pass 3 to it. So when we pass 3 to it and come out here and do something like console.log add. Okay, we already have add out here. Let's simply remove 3 from there and save. Okay, let's modify this to and change it to 4 so you can see that there's a difference. So we'll save now, come down here. And now you see we get a 7. Okay, we have a function inside another function. Now this is a little bit complicated than what we just do here. So I'll create another video where we talk about scopes and closures. So in that aspect, I'll tell you how the variables work. Because, for instance, this function inside can use the variables created in the scope of the function, which means inside the body of our function add. In fact, it can also use variables out here created in the global environment. And when we say global, it simply means it is not inside the function. Okay, it's just outside. It's as outside as every other thing. But the function add can't use a variable created inside the function inside. Okay, so we'll talk about those in scopes and closures, and I'll make a video on that very soon. And once again, please do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It will be very much appreciated. So now let's check another syntax that we can use. Another syntax we can use, and it is called the arrow function, right? In some cases, it is a very short syntax, and let's see how it works. Let's see how it works. I will say const arrow fun. Let's just use arrow fun. Right? You know it's arrow function. So inside it we pass x, y. Now our x, y will come out here, and we do something like an arrow, right? After the arrow, we'll say x divide by y. So we'll divide the value of x by that of y. I will save. When you come down here, okay, we have not run it yet. We have not run it yet. Now let's do console.log arrow function. And inside it we pass 9, 3. Right. So pass 9,3. Save. When we come here and run it, what do we get? We get 3 because 9 divided by 3 is 3. So what happens in a situation where we specify a parameter but you did not use it as an argument? Okay, let's see what happens. And we can go up now, remove this 3 right here. Okay, now let's save, run the code. What do we get? We get NaN. Okay, so NaN means not a number. But why exactly do we get NaN in the first place? Why does it say not a number, whereas 9 is a number, right? Now, the reason is because when we create parameters, they are just like variables waiting to be given a value. So in the meantime, before they receive a value of their own, which will happen at the time we use those parameters as arguments when invoking the functions. Okay, so when we create them here as parameters, they have no value. When they will have a value is when we use them here as an argument. So before this takes place, where they will be given value as arguments, the parameters are assigned a value called undefined. And this undefined is a data type in JavaScript that is used as a value, kind of like a placeholder for all variables, either they are assigned a value or not. So they are given this undefined value to hold the space for them in the computer memory before, during the runtime, when JavaScript will eventually execute the code, it will now use the value of that variable, right? So x and y, when we pass them here as parameter, they are assigned undefined each. So when we pass our x variable as 9, yes, JavaScript got there. It found that the value of x, because x comes first, okay, so the value of x is 9. But in passing y as a parameter when creating the function, we have only declared it as a variable, but we have not assigned it a value yet. So to assign a value to our y variable also was when we added 3. But in this case, we've removed that 3. So y does not have a value of its own. It is still holding that undefined. So when JavaScript tries to divide, because the operation we tell JavaScript to do is to divide x, the value of x, by the value of y, right? So when JavaScript tries to divide the 9, it couldn't find a value assigned to y. So JavaScript simply went ahead and divided 9 by the default value of y, which is in this case undefined. Okay, so dividing 9 by undefined, the JavaScript compiler does not know what to return to us. So we simply get not a number, because even if you give it to a human being and you say divide 16 by the letter C, you won't know what to return. So JavaScript is telling us, well, 9 divided by undefined, I don't know what to return, but I'll simply tell you it is not a number, right? So this is another one of those situations where JavaScript can be very tolerant, but that tolerance is not a good thing, okay? Because in so many other programming languages, like one of my favorites, that's a language I love so much. Things like this, it will get an error message straight up, and that is exactly how it should be, right? But I love JavaScript too. It's very tolerant, and for beginners, they might see it as a good thing. But to write optimized code that works efficiently, it's not a good thing, okay? So we can also create functions that do not have names. Let's go ahead and see those examples, because the video is getting very long already. So to create functions that don't have names, those functions are called anonymous functions, right? So let's see an example. I will say, okay, let's create a function that will return a person's age or the age of an event or whatsoever. It just returns age, right? So let's do something like this. Let's say current year. Yeah, let's use current year. Current year equals 2022 equals 2022. I would say let age equals function. So you see, we did not add a name. We simply go ahead to the parameter. Now inside the parameter here, we add year as our parameter. Let's now go inside the body of the function. And inside the body of the function, we are going to use an if statement also. If and else statement. Right. So the condition will be if the year we enter is less than the current year. Okay. It's less than the current year. Right. If the year is less than current year, what should our JavaScript code do? It should return current year minus year. What if the year is not less than current year? In other words, it's greater than current year. So it will return what? It will return year minus the current year. And there you have it. Let's come out here and use our function. I'll say console log we say age, right? So it is the variable name we're actually using as a function to invoke it. The function itself does not have a name. So inside the age, we need only one parameter. So let's use okay, let's use the age of the moon landing. I'll say 1969. Right. I think that's the first moon landing year. Yes, and let's save. So we get 53 years from 1969. We see that the age is correct. Let's try some other this thing. Let's see the queens. Okay, let's use 19. Let's use the end of the World War II. Let's say 1945. We'll save. Come here and we get 77 years. Okay. So we are getting what we want. Now there are so many things we still have to learn about how to use functions and how to use it efficiently. Okay, there are so many things, but if I want to bring everything into this video, it will be too long. And in this video series where we are talking about JavaScript, I want to keep everything as short as possible. So I'll still upload videos very soon on things like querying, recursive functions, or simply recursion. Then you have IFI, which means immediately invoked functions. Then we will also talk about some advanced concepts like scopes and closures. Okay, so there's so much more we need to learn, and I'm very excited about it. So once again, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.